Right, we're going to fly straight into it. I've loads to talk to you about, and we keep these podcasts to the beat.
Nice one.
So, little intro. So your cafe is out there, Inverin direction. So we're not too far from each other. I'm Galway City. So I suppose, give me the very quick rundown for those that don't know about your business. 30-second kind of elevator pitch. What do you do?
We're a small cafe, very focused on community, sustainability and quality. We're out there in the Connemara belt, so all of our staff are also fluent Irish speakers. And we have been selected 3 times in the 3 years we've been open as the best cafe in the country by different bodies.
Deadly. Can I jump straight in on the kind of Irish element of it? Because it's very interesting, because you rarely see it. It's very cool to see when you go on your Instagram and it's all Irish, and it's almost like, obviously, we don't hear a lot of it in this country anymore, and it's super cool to see that. So tell me about that. I suppose from a business perspective, that decision to do that, was that a risk or?
It's a massive risk. It's a massive challenge in terms of hiring, because I insist our kitchen is open. We insist on having all Irish speakers, which means, if you've ever worked in a kitchen anywhere in Ireland or anywhere all over the world, it's usually a total mix of nationalities, which, and we've had a mix of nationalities working for us as well, with they've all been Irish speakers, but it's just, you're drawing on a much smaller pool of potential employees if they have to be Irish speakers. But we set that out for ourselves from the start. The massive benefit of that is that, from a local perspective, people are very, very supportive of us. And there's been research done again and again, to be honest with you, that using things as Gaeilge adds to brand value. People trust brands that use Gaeilge more. I don't know whether it's that they see it, okay, that must be an Irish brand, that must be made here. I can trust it. And that has definitely stood to us.
Well, yeah. It's funny, just popped to the head. You have kind of like bars in Galway, and they're kind of like, I won't name the name, but they're traditional Irish names. We have one recently rebranded, and they're not owned by John Murphy or whatever, but it's just a brand name. But it does seem to be great. And when the Americans come over here, they want to go in there because they feel like it's more traditional Irish or whatever. So it's
absolutely. You see with big supermarkets that they've like Mickey O'Kelly's sausages, and sure, they mightn't be made by anyone who's even related to O'Kelly, but it's it works to create, I suppose, a trust and an assumption that it's local and all that. I suppose it's harder to mimic the Gaeilge and do it right. So you've got an even greater level of authenticity when you do use it.
Yeah. I think I read something on your Instagram recently when I was doing my bit of research, and I think you made a comment, or someone made a comment. Basically, you said about Irish food being among the best in the world, and was I right in that, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't remember when I said it, but I'd say it again. I think we're doing some amazing stuff in this country. I think it's a real shock that we don't have a 3-star restaurant already. I think we're operating at that level, and just because of where we are and because it hasn't been done before, they haven't given some of the restaurants that are operating in this country their 3rd star. I think in terms of produce, the stuff that we have in this country that's going on plates is second to none. And I would attribute a lot of what we've achieved to our producers, more so even than what we do in the kitchen ourselves. I think just the stuff that's being grown by some of the small producers in the country and produced by some of the small producers in the country is unbelievable. And when you get that onto the plate without too much adulteration, I think that's why Irish food is really shining at the moment. We're very lucky over here in Galway, yourself, some of the best restaurants in the country. And like that, there's amazing skill in the kitchen, no doubt about it, but they are working with some amazing produce.
Yeah. How do you find the whole, I suppose, running a business, step up and, managing staff and all that comes with that? How has that been for you?
It's a challenge. The bags under the eyes are the test to that, I'd say. But it's my first time. I suppose I would have done a certain amount of sole trading when I was in other jobs on the side. Everybody has a side hustle these days. But my first time running a business is this business. It's my first time employing people. Is this business? We're going 3 years. Someone described it well to me recently. It's like having a child to a certain extent. It's something that you're always conscious of. It is always there in the background. It comes between you and sleep, particularly with challenges in the industry at the moment. But the reward is massive then as well. The feeling of I suppose, pride. We're very proud of what we've done out there. And I suppose what we're creating for the community, which has been the goal from the start. I'm big into the language, and I think that food is an amazing tool and an amazing vehicle for creating a space that brings people together around the language and around local food.
Certainly. Can I ask you about, you touched on it there, about kind of the current challenges facing food businesses, obviously documented in the media, and I've spoken about a lot here. What are your thoughts on it? Or
I'm very upset with the government and the fact that they don't I think they genuinely aren't seeing what people are telling them. That they're not believing that places are really under pressure. My concern, and like I say, I started this place to create a space for the community. I grew up in a rural pub myself, and growing up in rural Ireland, the spaces that people came together were outside the church gates, were inside in the pub, or maybe on the side of the pitch at GAA matches. And we've lost in huge volumes two of those places. The GAA is doing great, but like pubs are going the way of the dinosaur. Far fewer people are attending mass. Not that I go one way or the other on that, but people aren't coming together in the same way, and we're losing a huge amount of our community fabric as a result. And I think some of that has been replaced with restaurants, but they won't survive. We've lost 700, as the RAI says, in the last year. We're going to lose another 1,000 in the next year. And I think something massive, particularly in rural communities, will be lost there. And I think the government is going to, I suppose, suffer for that in the long run. They're going to lose, obviously, employment and all of the figures. You can go down to numbers all you want, but there's something greater than numbers to be looked at as well in terms of what's lost in rural communities when people don't have spaces to come together. And we can see it in modern Ireland, that there's a bit of a breakdown in the fabric and community, and we're all a bit more, I suppose, polarised in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of that is that we're not coming together as much anymore. We're much more in our silos, on our phones, in our homes. We don't really rely on one another as much anymore. And I think we're going to lose something massive.
Yeah. Do you think, are you hopeful for the future, or, what are your thoughts? I know there's a general election coming up, and God knows what way that'll go.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for the future in that I at least it has finally become fairly clear to me that we can't rely on the government to bail us out at this stage. Not that I think it's a bailout, but to even consider us important. So we kind of have to do it for ourselves. The model has to change massively. For the purposes of this, again, I was doing the Excel spreadsheet, working it out. Kitchen like ours runs, where there's a lot of prep, you need 2 chefs. The way our floor runs, you need at least 2 floor staff. That's 4 people. Turnover required at minimum wage for a day of trading to cover 4 people now, based on the guidelines of you should have about 33%. Staff cost is about 1,500 quid. In a rural location, that just doesn't happen. You're not going to have full and busy for breakfast and full and busy for lunch and turning over that kind of amount. So you either have to find ways to cut back on that wage bill massively, which probably means that you're not going to be producing food to the calibre that we aim to produce it, because you can't be peeling potatoes, you can't be peeling onions, you can't be making a base for your soup. You have to buy it all in off the back of a truck. So something is going to suffer there, or the model needs to change massively. So, look, I'm hopeful because we're diversifying, we're focusing in on lots of different bits. I'm lucky to have a background in media, so I do a bit of work in that regard. I'm very, very passionate about education, so I'm hoping to expand that side of the business a bit as well, work with schools, get kids into good food at an earlier age. So, you're kind of constantly having to pivot, and half the industry is shattered since COVID from having to pivot constantly, but it's the only thing you can do. It's that or shut. Yeah,
true. What's the future? So where do you see your business in the next kind of 12 months, 24 months?
Well, we are just about to launch a couple of retail products. They've gone through shelf life testing and all that, so I'm very excited about that. We've started a micro bakery, and I'm hoping to grow that side of the business. We've been approached by a couple of different groups with regards to potentially franchising it out now that we've built a lot of brand value. And I'd be cautious with that, because obviously we'd have to maintain standards, but at the same time, there's definitely opportunities there. But the model, the maths will have to be bang on, because it's just gotten so tight. And like I said, the education thing as well, and hoping maybe to work with a couple of different crowds in terms of either TV stuff or social stuff. Because, we just have to find other ways beyond the very great support that we have from the local community and the bums on seats that we have, there has to be alternative streams of revenue at this stage, you know.
Yeah. Can you tell us anything about the retail range, or is that kind of hush?
Well, no, it's not. No, I'm delighted to tell you. So we're going to have our very popular mixed berry compote, which is it's a load of lovely berries. We make it with about a quarter of the sugar that you'd normally have in a standard jam. So it's got that lovely tartness. We use it in our beautiful roulade inside in the cafe. We put it on our scones, and it just cuts through that sweetness that little bit. So we're going to have that. We make our own tomato relish with our own mix of spices. And that goes out with our breakfasts and with our quiche and stuff like that. And we just, nearly every day, the people are going up to the counter going, can we get a jar of that? And I'm saying, look, we only make it in the kitchen at the moment. Yeah. So we've been working towards that. Our honey mustard mayo that we sell with our twice cooked chips is very popular. So we're hoping to have that very soon. And then our house dressing as well, which, again, with our focus on local seasoned organic ingredients, it's going to be a very Irish dressing that we make. It's made with apple cider vinegar and rapeseed oil and Irish honey, and so it's going to be a real Irish product. So hopefully we'll have all those over the line now. Some of them are ready to go. Some of them are nearly ready to go for the Christmas period.
Fantastic. I know not too far, just down the road from you, William Blosta. They've obviously had massive success with their retail. I think that they announced today they're in Tesco. I could be wrong, but I've seen they announced something recently, or maybe it was across the UK. But that must be kind of a good kind of barometer for you guys to want to aim towards.
Absolutely, and look, the market is very saturated. It's hard to stand out. Their product is excellent. Heather and Emer and all the team there in Bulleen have been, really flying the flag for quality in this part of Connemara for a long time, and they're great to us as well. We've a great relationship with them, and they really are kind of someone to look up to in terms of how they've started out with a fairly narrow range, and they have expanded that range massively now. And I think they're into the UK very recently. I met Heather at Food on the Edge, and she was saying that they were just about to break into the UK market. They worked with the likes of I think maybe some of the startup programs with Aldi and Super Value, and really put in the hard yards to make sure that their brand got out there. They got noticed by a couple of really big influencers, the lads, the Gastrogays and a few more who really championed their product, and they just did it right. And it's this, okay, I won't say a simple product because it's a very special product, but that smoked onion mayo is phenomenal.
It is, yeah, it's pretty savage. Diarmuid, thanks a million. We flew through that. That's how I like them. I like them to the point, bang them out. Thanks a million. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Chat to you.
Thank you. Cheers.
I'll pop out the road to you sometime, hopefully before the end of the year, and pop into you.
Looking forward to it.
Lovely. Thanks so much.